Hello and welcome to Mom's Way to Wellness. I am your host, Aida Maravillas, and today we are starting a new series on self-care. When it comes to self-care, a lot of moms feel guilty taking care of themselves. But what if caring for yourself actually helps you take care of your family? Today, we're talking about 3 things that are helpful for every mom to know about self-care. But before we get there, I want to share a little bit about when self-care became a whole different priority for me. To be honest, self-care became a turning point for me during the pandemic. It was such a literal, isolating time for so many of us, and the stressors of managing a household were high. And as I felt the weight of so much of my own life, while also carrying some of the weight of those in my household, it wasn't sustainable for me to keep on pushing through. And let's be honest here on a side note, and just say that sometimes we take on the weight of those around us too. Whether it's that we are taking it on to hold it with them, or we start to take it as if it is our own. And a little bit of both of that was going on for me. And I realized that my needs had been neglected over a long period of time. This just became the set of circumstances that brought everything to the surface. I had to acknowledge and accept that I couldn't control the things that were happening all around me. So I started to focus on self-care. It was something that I had a little bit more control over than I thought because I kept it short and simple. And that was when I started to write about self-care and post about what I was doing to help me. Life has moved on from that particular season, but I've noticed that time continues to move at a pace that is busy, and sometimes those patterns of self-neglect can quietly come back to the surface. And over time, I've noticed a few patterns in my own life and in conversations with other moms, and there seem to be 3 things that every mom needs to know about self-care. One is that sometimes we are the biggest obstacles to our own self-care. 2, self-care supports more than we realize. And 3, some of the biggest obstacles to self-care are things that we can actually work through. And I want to talk about these in a little bit more detail here. First, let's address how we can sometimes be the biggest obstacles to our own self-care. This could be through inherited generational beliefs about prioritizing your own needs when it comes to motherhood. Functioning in survival mode, constantly stressed and in a heightened fight-flight response, or even thinking things will fall apart if someone else does the things that we need to do, or our need to see things through in our own way of doing it. That's really some undercover control issues. We may value productivity over rest or enjoyment. Is it possible that the messages communicated to you when you were growing up prioritized everyone else's needs before your own because somehow the needs of others mattered more? Or that you're feeling so heightened or overwhelmed that the idea of slowing down seems impossible? Does your measure of productivity match your level of ability to function? Does it match your energy or your stage of parenting? We become our own obstacles to self-care when we rationalize our lack of need or priority for it. We can end up carrying these beliefs within ourselves without realizing that they may not be a healthy way to look at things. And yet, we still do. We prioritize the needs of others and we create our own obstacles for why self-care feels so out of reach. The second point I want to unpack is what self-care actually supports. Self-care is an investment in yourself, especially for the mom who manages a lot for others. The benefits far outweigh the cost that neglect can lead to. Moms have an ability to influence the mood in their entire family system. That's the household or sometimes even out to the extended family. Any investment that a mom makes in bettering herself will bear fruit. What kind of fruit do we want to share with those around us? Do we want to share fruit that is ripe, healthy and full of flavor? Do we want to share and serve out of nourishment, overflow, and abundance? Fruit that is ripe and ready to harvest, it tastes delicious. It comes from fields that are cultivated, nourished, watered. They've received just enough sunlight, just enough vitamins, just enough nutrients to be able to produce what they've become. When the fields don't get watered, or when there's a drought, there is no fruit, there's nothing to harvest and nothing to share. And self-care is just like the work that goes in behind the scenes, the work that can help us show up as the best version of ourselves. Because we can't pour from a vessel that is empty, and we are vessels. We can't give fruit that hasn't been cultivated. It hasn't even been given the chance to grow, really. So we have to tend to our own needs first so we can be refilled and better equipped to serve others from abundance instead of depletion. Engaging in activities of self-care actually promotes physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. It helps us to support our nervous system and ability to regulate our emotions or get back to a baseline at some point. Because let's face it, our emotions are what make us human. They're part of our design. And there are going to be times that we feel emotion. And it's a matter of whether or not we're able to get back to our calm self. It also increases our window of tolerance so that we're able to handle the things that come. It strengthens our resilience and flexibility to handle all of the unexpected challenges that come with being parents. The ways that self-care actually supports us is the biggest return on our investment to care for ourselves well. We've touched on how we can become our own obstacles to self-care and what self-care actually promotes. Let's unpack the third point that every mom needs to know about self-care. And that is that the obstacles to self-care are challenges that we can work through. For some moms, it's guilt. For others, it's time, money, exhaustion, or not having enough support. I want to address these obstacles in a sensitive way because even though the benefit to self-care is high and the return on investment is big, these barriers can be challenging to work through. Guilt is a real feeling. Limited support can be the phase of motherhood you are in. A lack of time can be a challenging thing to try to work through depending on your season of parenting or the time of year. Finances can be hard. Expectations can be big. And believing it has to be earned is a real challenge because it means that other things have to be done first. And with a never-ending list of things to do and a revolving door of things that just kind of get checked off and then other things get added on, will all of the things that need to get done ever truly be quote unquote done? These are some things that it's important to think about because these obstacles, they become the barriers and then it turns into self-neglect and then it turns into self-sacrifice and then we are a field that does not have fruit, that is not producing what we were called to produce out of the best versions of ourselves. These obstacles will be unpacked a bit more throughout the series, but today, the most important thing for moms to understand is the importance of self-care altogether, because taking care of yourself is actually part of taking care of your family. When you are replenished, regulated, and supported, you are more likely to respond to challenges differently. Not perfectly, but with more patience, presence, and capacity. It all goes hand in hand. The way that self-care has ebbed and flowed for me throughout the years has led to some changes that have been good for me as an individual and for my family as a whole. I've shared pieces of that in previous episodes, and I'm sure I will share more in the future as well. But there was something unexpected that came out of sharing my shift into prioritizing self-care when it came to my friends and coworkers. I didn't realize how much other moms just needed to see someone else do it. That was when I learned more about the way self-care can challenge moms. Even though it is important, it could be challenging to set our minds to prioritize it. We will get into some more detail about some of the obstacles to self-care in these next episodes, especially in the next episode in the series, because we're going to unpack how our mindset impacts our approach to self-care. For today, I encourage you to consider how self-care is nourishment to your body, mind, and soul. If you are watching on YouTube, please comment by sharing one thing that holds you back from self-care. If you are listening on your favorite streaming platform, you can sign up for my monthly newsletter and email me directly about your biggest obstacle to self-care. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'll see you next time on Mom's Way to Wellness. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you thought of someone who can use the encouragement that you received from this episode, please share it with them. If you would like to receive the monthly newsletter and insider information about the show, you can sign up to be part of the Mom's Way to Wellness community at aidamaravillas.com.